we'll just go on with the show. So
Awesome.
Tessa, you can hit record and I'll go ahead. All right. Good morning and welcome to the 15th in our Shift, Sustain, and Succeed series. This is the 9th week of helping you find answers to the most pressing questions our businesses have in navigating this crazy COVID-19 situation. We began the series in April talking about funding needs and opportunities. There have been grants and loans offered by the government, charitable, and corporate foundations. Many have been cumbersome to apply for. Many come with strings attached. But just a couple of weeks ago, I learned about the PA 30-Day Fund. So today we're going to hear from Jeff Bartos, the fund's founder, and Maia, Comeau, who serves on the advisory board. I've had the pleasure of visiting with both of them in the past, and I know they're excited to share with you. We're going to share some information, including who the fund is targeting for funding and how to contribute to the fund and why this is all relevant to Venango County businesses. So as everything continues to evolve, I want to remind you that everything we share today is information we have today, and that could change in the next few days or weeks. But we'll do our best to bring you current information as things continue to change. If you have any follow-up questions, please submit them in the Zoom chat. We'll do our best to include them today or in the follow-up. So let's get started. Jeff, can you give us a little background on the fund, how it was started, what we need to know to get started here today?
Well, first of all, Susan, thank you. And to everyone on the screen who I can't see, I can only see the slide or the PowerPoint, but to everyone who's on the call, thank you. I have had the pleasure of visiting Oil City and Franklin. I was at the Derek's offices in October of 2018 for an interview. And my kids still make fun of the pictures, well, all those pictures from back then, but there's definitely, when I look at the pictures, I remember when I was at the Derek's offices. And so it is great to connect with you by Zoom and look forward to being able to do this in person in the not too distant future, because there are now 10 businesses that I'm eager to visit in Venango County that have been the recipients of the forgivable loan from the PA 30-Day Fund. And so before I just give you brief background, I do have to give a shout out, and she is not paying me to say this, but Susan is a legit rock star. There are 67 counties in Pennsylvania. I have visited all of them. We have tried to work with and have worked with all of the chambers of commerce in the counties. And this is not hyperbole. Susan stands out as number one in terms of taking this program that we've been privileged to start and fundraise for and making it available and notifying the businesses in Venango County. And as I mentioned, 10 businesses in Venango County ranks you behind Philadelphia, Berks, which has its own group of dedicated business leaders who are funding businesses in Berks. Blair, same thing. So Blair and Berks have each done more than 20. Montgomery County, which is at 12, and then Venango County at 10, which means we have funded more businesses in Venango County than Chester County, Delaware County, Bucks County, or any other counties in the southeastern part of the state. And that is 100% due to the hard work and passion and commitment of Susan. And so Susan, thank you for just being an incredible advocate for the businesses that you work so hard to represent.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm going to try not to interrupt you today, but I have to shout out my team. So I couldn't have done it without my partners who are on this call, who listened to my call and carried it further. So I have, I can't wait for you to visit Venango and visit the other people that helped me out. So I appreciate that. Now you've given us a target. So 20?
Well,
let's see what we can do.
Well, we have to find some funding for that too. But
we'll do that.
We'll talk about that as well. And by the way, I can't imagine how many beers I now have to drink at Ales to Trails because I think we're going. We're going for a long run and then some drinks. But
Perfect.
So very briefly, look, the whole state has been impacted by the shutdown. Like so many on this call, I'm sure that when your businesses were told to stop working or curtailed, lots of emotions went through your mind and your hearts. For me, not to turn this into a therapy session, but for me, I was angry, I was frustrated. I worked really, really hard to get a PPP for my small business. That was a frustrating process, as I'm sure many of you know. And on April 17th, finally, that $95,700 was deposited into my checking account, which meant I could start paying my guys again. even though they weren't allowed to work. And I had a beer and I relaxed and I felt like a decent business owner for the first time in, I don't know, 6 weeks. The next morning at 8 a.m., I get a call from a childhood friend who I grew up with in the Reading, Lancaster area. And he said, "Are you watching what I'm doing in Virginia with the Virginia 30-Day Fund?" And I said, "Yeah, I've been watching it." And he said, "You need to do that in Pennsylvania." And I was like, no, absolutely not, no. I'm tired, I'm frustrated. I'm going to enjoy getting this free money and paying my guys to do nothing for the next 8 weeks, and then we'll figure it out. And back and forth we went, as old 40-plus year friends can do. And finally he said to me, 10 years from now, when you look back on this time period, do you want to remember that you bitched and complained about your own business situation, or do you want to remember that you used all those statewide connections you built and all those fundraising skills that you developed, and you went and helped hundreds and hundreds of small businesses?" Sort of an unfair question, because I think for any of us, we would have answered with a smile. And I did curse at my friend, but and told him where he could go. But I then said, "You got me, right in the heart. What do I need to do?" And from April 18th through May 6th, we partnered with the University of Pennsylvania. We started with 3 students at the Wharton School. We now have 43 volunteers. It's amazing sort of what they've done on the front end. They review with great integrity and consistency, and with the genius that these Wharton and law students from Penn can bring. They review every application that comes through. They grade it, they score it, they sort it, and then they present to us as a board the recommendations, not binding at all, but recommendations for the businesses that we need to look at that day. The next thing I did after connecting with Penn was to build a board that was, from the get-go, made sure it was apolitical. I did not want anyone seeing this or thinking about this, or the press writing about that this was some, retread Republican candidate statewide, blah, blah, blah. I didn't want to read about that. I wanted to read about Pennsylvania business people coming together to help other Pennsylvania businesses. So after a rough, we had one bad article to start, but other than that, we've a mission accomplished. We built a great board. We've built out funding committees in Blair and Berks as well. And it is apolitical. It is people from all walks of life, all political persuasions, all races, all religions, all sexual orientations. It has been a very diverse group of funders, both on the donating side, and then of course on our review side. And on May 6th, we had a nice article in the Philadelphia Inquirer. Website went live. We started getting donations, and off we were. On May 8th, I promised Susan I won't go through every day from May 8th until now, but for May 8th, for 4 hours, this group of volunteers sat there on a Friday night from 8 p.m. to midnight going through our first batch of companies. We funded 12 that first night, 6 on Saturday, 6 on Sunday, and Monday I sat there like a entry-level accounting guy keying in all these wires. We now do checks because wiring got to be a pain, but keying in all these wires to send $3,000 forgivable loans out to small businesses across the Commonwealth. Who would have thought, really, on May 8th, 9th, 10th, May 11th, that here we are 6+ weeks later, and we've now funded. This morning, our board is meeting right now. Maia and I already voted because our system's gotten a lot better, but we'll be funding close to our 250th company. Maybe we'll get to 248 this morning. So we'll certainly clear 250 tomorrow. And we have received donations from across the Commonwealth, and frankly, from across the country, ranging from $3 up to $1 million, which is astounding. Now, the $1 million is a challenge matching grant. So for every dollar that's raised from June 8th forward, the donor will match it dollar for dollar up to $1 million. So we haven't collected the full $1 million, but we will. And we've raised well over $300,000 towards that. And so, our goal right now is to raise $3 million and help 1,000 Pennsylvania small businesses get back on their feet and get rolling again in their communities. We really don't have a quota for cities or for counties. Again, I want to stress, Venango County has been funded way higher than Allegheny County. That's not because we had set out with any kind of goal. It was just, we've seen great businesses from Venango County and we're thrilled to fund them. And I don't
What do
know.
you see that impact is having? So you kind of commented on that right at the beginning. So when you're able to have that kind of financial impact, what's your kind of dream for watching that play out in a community?
I mean, so to Maia's credit, to Maia and Alicia and Richard Phillips, they developed a system, because how do you evaluate hundreds and hundreds of applications, or thousands in our case, and how do you figure out where, who, and why? And so we're looking at the likelihood of survivability, the best we can ascertain, the impact that that business is having in the community beyond just commerce, right? So impact on the street, in the village, in the city, in the county. We love hearing about the business owner tell us about their impact. We look at whether the business has pivoted, whether they could pivot during this time. And we really, really prioritize businesses stressing helping their employees. And so for us, we're looking at jobs saved, which is imprecise because we just won't know for now, but we're looking at jobs saved. And if you distill down sort of, we're trying to make an impact in the businesses of people who are having an impact in their community. And that's how we measure it. And we see it in the thank you notes, we see it in the videos we get from business owners who've been funded. But in Philadelphia, which suffered terrible looting and property damage a couple of weekends ago, we went all in on trying to help minority-owned and women-owned small businesses that had been left out of PPP, that were already struggling, that could see the end, the light at the end of the tunnel, and it wasn't an oncoming train at that point. They could see the light at the end of the tunnel for reopening, and then their business gets looted, wrecked, burned. And so we've gone all in on helping them because we just can't. We want to do everything we can do to make sure that the small businesses that are the fabric of our main streets in all of our towns survive, because the cost to rebuild and get started again after this is all over is way, way, way higher than injecting $3,000 of a forgivable loan or a grant to that business that's a going concern right now.
Right. Well, can you talk to us just a little bit about the right applicant? You talked about wanting to hear their kind of positive message, what they're doing in the community and for their employees, but there is a 3-employee minimum. So we have some small businesses who are really crucial that we just wonder, can you talk to us a little bit about that? Who is your right applicant, and maybe who is not your right applicant? Who might save the time of going through the process? And I might say you have a beautifully simplified process. I love the way that all works.
It's heartbreaking to say no to the sole proprietor, because there's so many small businesses that it's husband and wife, single mom, and no employees. There's an element, we get emails, and I try to personally respond to every email because I have the contact@pa30day.com email address. I try to respond to every email with an explanation, not like a form email, because I want them to know that we love them. And it's heartbreaking for us to have to say no, but we can't fund every business. And so getting back to that element of employment, we want to look at, are we at least helping to save 3 jobs? Are we at least helping to save 3 jobs? And, no more than 30, because we think at a certain point, $3,000 is not going to have a huge impact on a 100-person company or an 80-person company. And so, that's the 3 to 30 have to be in business for at least a year. We love startups, but we're not in the business of funding startups. We're not a venture fund. And then based in Pennsylvania, owned by a Pennsylvanian, and be a for-profit corporation. But once you get past that, it's all the intangibles. And we wrestled with the video because some people are camera shy, and we don't want people to not apply because they're afraid of looking silly on video. We evaluated an application this morning where the gentleman and his mom rapped. They did a rap on why. Now, that's incredibly creative. It was low budget. It was just them and their iPhone, but that's incredibly memorable. Now, does everyone do that? Of course not. But, it is, I would say, I don't know what Maia thinks about this, but I'd say 90+% of the time, the passion and the energy and just the humanity of the business owner shines through. And I think that video is, you know, even though people might be reticent to do it initially, it's an amazing opportunity for you to tell us about your business.
Yeah, I think we love video here in Venango. Maybe that's shown through too.
Yeah.
And I know some of our applicants who said, man, I just sat down at my kitchen table and turned my phone towards me, or had my 16-year-old help me do that. And we do have great video production opportunities. So if someone says, I'm not comfortable doing it with my phone, we can hook them up and help them through. So that's one of the offers we've thrown out and had our partners helping with too. So so what is the typical time frame? I think one of the really joys of this program is you're turning things quickly. The application process is really easy. For those who have been frustrated and said, you know, I've sat down and gone through those applications. Can you talk quickly about that
Sure.
and that process
Yeah.
and how that works for everybody?
Our promise, we don't always hit it, but our promise out front is 3 business days. So and this happened, like we hit a magic moment at the end of last week, where I was speaking to business owners on Friday, letting them know the good news, and they had applied on Wednesday. So they applied on Wednesday. Our Penn reviewers reviewed everything Thursday, loaded it up Thursday night. Friday morning we meet. We vote to fund as a board, and we meet every day, but it happened to be we met Friday morning, and I was able to print checks, sign them, and send them out that day. So the money was in the mail on Friday after an application came in on Wednesday. That is not always the case. Weekends kind of get a little bumpy sometimes, and stuff happens technologically. But generally speaking, we're able to, you know, if the application's complete and they have a W-9 that they uploaded, because sometimes we have to chase the W-9 before we can issue a check. But as long as the business owner has uploaded everything and the application's complete, we absolutely today, we have enough volunteers that we can review it. If it's loaded up on Tuesday, we should be reviewing it on Thursday, and in theory, latest it's going out as a check is Friday.
Great. Well, are there any limitations to how that check is spent? And we talk a little bit about the forgivable loan aspect of it. Like when so many of these things that people are applying for, they're getting, but then they're having to pause and think, oh my gosh, now I got it. How can I spend it? Is it going to be forgivable? What's different about the PA fund?
So it's a great question, and I'll just pivot for a second to say that if you watch too much TV news, you would think we live in this terribly divided, awful country where everyone's at each other's throats and you can't trust anybody. I have been amazed and continue to be amazed by the just decency of everyone I speak to on the phone. So I'd say 80 to 90% of the time, business owner asks me, well, should I report back how I'm using the money? Is there anything I shouldn't use this on? And I say, that's a beautiful question, and you are a awesome person. We just want you to thrive. So yes, we want you to spend it on employment, and we want you to spend it on rent and health insurance. But reality is, now that you're moving into the green phase and you need to buy some PPE, God bless, use it for that. If you're able to pay it forward, and we call it a forgivable loan. We love the stories of the businesses that are able to pay it back so that we can fund another small business, or pay it forward. If a business in Venango County wants to help another business in Venango County down the road, just tell us about it. You're under no obligation to tell us about it, but tell us about it because we want to hold you up as a champion. So there's no paperwork attached to what we do. The check goes out in the mail with nothing to sign, and we trust the business owners. This is a group of volunteer business people who came together to raise money to try to do some good at a difficult time, to support other Pennsylvanians, to have their back, to let them know they're not alone. And we don't want to burden anybody.
Great. Well, and I want to talk about that side of things next. So I do want to remind everyone that this is recorded. So if you know somebody that missed this call or you jumped on late, you can go to our website. I changed the slide. You can visit, watch this recording, or tell someone else you've got to hear what Jeff's doing out there. So you'll also find any resources that we share during this call. We'll put the links up there. So of course there'll be the link to the PA 30-day fund. So let's talk about how people can donate, because with the potential to give out even more money in Venango County, I'd like to start looking at ways that we can help you fund more of those donations. So, or more of those grants going forward. I'd like to meet that 20, but I don't expect it to come from others. I'd love to see it come from us. So will you tell us about, what you're looking for, where those dollars would come from? How can we inspire our community to give to the PA 30-day fund?
Blair County is sort of a perfect example of this. I called my friend Jim Foreman and my friend Phil DeVoris in Blair County, like maybe the day after Pete first called me about the PA 30-day fund. And I asked them, do you think the business community in Blair County would want to come together? The businesses that are doing well still can support the businesses that are struggling. And it's sort of a virtuous, not sort of, it is a virtuous circle. And they, they were interested, but they didn't know. And then something clicked like 3 or 4 weeks in, and Jim Foreman called me all excited. He's like, I think I have a core group now that wants to get engaged. And in maybe 4 weeks, they've raised now $150,000. And our commitment to the donors in Blair County is that 100% of those dollars will go to Blair County-based businesses. And I work with a small group in Blair County, not daily, but 3 times a week, to make sure that we're on track. I report donations and I report businesses funded, and we're at 26 businesses in Blair and 22 in Berks as of today. Berks, I think, is going for 33. They want to raise $100,000, do 33 businesses, and then shut it down. Blair, I think Blair is sort of saying, this has brought the community together in the most beautiful way. In fact, I'm driving to Blair County on Thursday. We're having a party outdoors, socially distanced. I don't want to get in trouble with anybody. But we're having a party with the businesses that have been funded and the donors and me and the group that's been sort of spearheading it out in Blair. We're all going to get together and give each other hugs and good fellowship. So, I mean, virtual hugs, I guess, but in good fellowship. So I think that's a perfect model where the business community stepped up. It took 2 or 3 leaders to say, they planted the flag and they said, this is what we're doing. And it just took off. And then Michael Fiore from LS Fiore and Company, which is a big building products materials company, he stepped forward and pledged $50,000 as a matching grant. So he saw what the gentleman in Philadelphia did, and he's like, I want to do that for Blair, and he did $50,000 as a matching grant. So but we've received, like I said, credit card donations as low as $3 and credit card donations as high as $25,000. We've received checks, checks and wires for more than 100. And again, we've seen checks for $25. So people donate online, which is super easy. They donate by check and they donate by wire transfer, depending on the amounts. And I would say, Susan, like if there's a group, please, I'll work with any group, of course, but it doesn't have to be a big group. But if there's a group that says, we want to do this, like we love this, we want to do what Blair did, or we want to do it better, we want to do it differently, like we'll work with you, we'll make it happen. It has been such a beautiful, beautiful thing in Blair County to see what they've been able to do as a community supporting each other.
Jeff, I would just add, Susan, I just wanted to add too that 100% of all of the donations go directly back out to the community. So there's no overhead charges, and everybody who works on this is just putting in their time.
That's amazing. And one of the things that really excited me about sharing, all of this information. I changed the slide to some of the options for donating. The wire transfer still is an option.
It is, yes, it is. And I would note, I just see something on there. It's not an error, but we did receive our 501c3 designation from the IRS.
Okay.
So that we are now fully approved tax exempt organization.
Wonderful. That's great. So there's the ways. We'll have that posted on our website. So that if you know of someone that has the ability to fund, and I know some of my partners are on here today, we've talked a lot about how we can generate money for our small businesses. And one of the questions is like, how do we decide? So you have a really great process for getting that money out to people. I think there are opportunities for us to continue to talk about. I think one of the things that impresses me the most is how business driven this grant is, because again, on the call, I see a lot of us that work in nonprofit or government, and we're constantly getting the calls, how can you help us? And this is really businesses helping business, which gets right to the heart of Chamber and why we even exist,
It is, And by the way, obviously, Susan, I'm happy to connect you with Jim Foreman or any of the folks in Blair to just, to speak further about how they organized and how it's worked for them. But 100% of the dollars that they've raised have stayed in Blair. I mean, they donate to the 30-day fund, and then we make sure it's specially allocated. And to piggyback on what Maia said, all of the overhead costs for this, which are website hosting and credit card processing fees and things like that, are being borne by me and a couple other board members. I decided, at a time when my business was shut down for 14 weeks and we have no revenue, it'd probably be good to spend some money too. So,
Thank you for doing that, because a lot of times people underestimate what the cost of that is, what the cost of that infrastructure and the time. So I'm glad that you have the time and the resources to do that. I can't tell you how much we appreciate that.
Cheryl and I are very blessed, although I would say her patience with me is wearing thin.
For any of us that have been working long days and sometimes 8 days a week, I gotcha. So how long will this continue? I know I'm a little bit of a hurry up person. So the first time I heard you speak, as you were speaking, I was typing, sending messages out feverishly, like everybody get in line. But is there a real hurry up component right now? Can we tell our businesses, hey, should we be telling them get your application in today? Or can we say, hey, think about this over the weekend and get your video? And is there time?
I mean, yeah, there's definitely time. I mean, a reporter asked me this question last week, how long are you going to be doing this? And I said, I used to say 30 days. And then I'd say, well, maybe through the end of July. And now the answer is, realistically, it's till we're no longer needed. Now, all of us hope that the Commonwealth is back on its feet. And this is a bipartisan, nonpartisan, I know everybody believes this. Or has this in their heart, that they want us back up and running and charging forward. So, if the Commonwealth's back up on its feet and industry and business are able to move forward, then the need for us goes away, and that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. But we just don't know right now. We just don't know what's coming in terms of number of cases. We don't know what government restrictions might be down the road, and so we are planning as a group with our Penn volunteers and others to be needed through the fall. But our hope is that, we reach a point in the next 60 days or so where we're no longer needed. Yeah.
Well, Maia, is there anything you'd like to add? You're on the advisory committee. Is there anything that either Jeff didn't cover, or you'd just like to tell us about, what your role has been in?
Thanks, Susan. I just wanted to add to what Jeff just said too. I mean, just to make a joke about how long we're going to go. Every day Jeff sends an update to all of us saying, this is how much cash we have on hand. this is how many applicants we have. So it really is based on the money that comes in and the applications that come in. And then we kind of make the determination of what we're going to do each day. I would just add that, I was sitting around at home. I live in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and struggling to try to figure out how to be helpful. I have two parents that are at risk that live with me. And so going out to food banks and stuff wasn't really in the cards for me. And when I got this call, I jumped at the opportunity, and I never get sick of hearing Jeff tell that story. His story of how he started it. And it's been such a beautiful experience to see the commitment from Pennsylvanians all across the state, as Jeff said, giving $3 up to $1 million. And then there's nothing more special than making that call to the donor. And we've had many burst into tears and just saying, you're the first ones. You're the first ones who've been able to give us any money. I mean, Susan, you and I talked about this, how everybody goes through the process. And I know many people in your county have gone through the process of applying for grants and then told the money's run out. And so we've really developed a great system to get this going, and it's been really rewarding. And Jeff's leadership has been unbelievable. So that's all I would add.
Great. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for the time that you've given. That's a really nice touch when I hear from people that have gotten the grant and they say, he called. it's like what, or she called, that it's really been nice. Well, we are, honored to have, had the chance to work with you and meet you and help hopefully we'll be shooting some money your way so you can continue to impact businesses here. And if we're able to shoot more money your way than we have applicants here, we hope that we'll be part of really moving Pennsylvania forward. You know, we know as a state we're all connected, and I am grateful. I want to shout out too to my state association. You know, the PACP, the Pennsylvania Association of Chamber Professionals, are my team, and the opportunity to meet with them every week, and the Pennsylvania Chamber of Commerce, who introduced us to Jeff, which was, you know, just a great day for us. So Jeff, are there any kind of parting comments on your side, anything we've left out? We'd love to stay in touch.
Please stay in touch. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your passion and energy. And as Maia said, the best part of my day, and I suspect Maia agrees, the best part of my day is having the chance to speak with the entrepreneurs and the small business people who are receiving the money. And Maia's absolutely right. 60+% of the time, there's one or both of us are crying by the end of the call. And then the second best part of my day is walking those checks to the Narberth post office and knowing that the dollars that we work so hard to raise are rapidly getting into the hands of the people who need it. And I don't know if Maia would agree that. To me, this has been the most, I love this more than anything I've been involved with professionally, and it's been a labor of love. And we're very blessed to have the support of yourself and so many other leaders that allow us to do this work. So thank you.
Great. Well, we'd love to have you here, and I've got a few extra beer chips. So when you're ready to make your way, we'll welcome your visit. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We're going to continue weekly Shift, Sustain, Succeed webinars. Our guest next week will be Susan Heilman from the NWIRC. We'll be talking about their rapid response and how they've designed, you know, really kind of a triage for businesses of all size to get what they need to get up and running, take care of their people, you know, to continue in business or get back up in business, or if, you know, if it's the case, to figure out how to exit gracefully, you know, during this very difficult time. So 9 o'clock next Tuesday. Thank you all for joining me, and enjoy this beautiful Pennsylvania day. So have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Great day.